Okay, in tutorial 8, we're going to take a look at the camera border follows. So if you go to the scenes on the folder in your project tab, just go down to tutorial 8, go ahead and double click on this one. And what we're going to basically look at for the border follow is the properties for it is to allow the character to walk to the edge of the screen. And when the player gets there, the camera then readjusts and shows the next portion of the screen to the side. So kind of an old school camera, but one that we could go ahead and look at through Unity and find just kind of a fun way to change up the camera types for it. Starting off with, let's go ahead and click on the character. And for the inside the hierarchy, let's just go to our main camera. And on the main camera, we have one that is called Camera Border Follow 2D. Go ahead and just double click on the script to open it up. Alright, and when it opens, it should just be opening to a just a standard function update. I just move this one down one here. Alright, so for this one, let's go back to our quick little write-up here. This is just a very simple, again, another way. I'm trying to make sure that we're going through a lot of different ways of trying to write out the information, so that if one of these just kind of clicks with you and you're like, yeah, this is the way I like to do it, then just kind of stick with it. However, if you need one that's more complicated, like more packed with information on specifics, be sure to go back to like the tool lab and series. That's definitely going to be one that's more complete on that side. For this one though, if we're just going for simple, we're talking about the camera is going to have borders for the movement, meaning that on the edges it'll be able to have a border, so when the player reaches a certain point, then something's going to happen. We're going to have the screen, the camera itself, revealing the next screen when you get to the edge. So in terms of things that we need for it, we're going to check to see if the player is on either the left or the right hand side of the edge, meaning that the player's face direction, which direction he's facing. We want to make sure we're actually checking for that through the character controller script. Also, we're going to have we're going to make a border amount on the check, so we'll have just an inspector option to allow us to actually define how far in on the screen that we actually draw it, where the character is going to interact with. And then we also have this one, which is the if the player is moving to the left or to the right, then we adjust the camera based on that. Alright, so we've got our basic idea here, so let's go ahead and just jump into the camera. We'll start off with just creating a set of functions, variables, and start working through it. So actually we'll start off with just some variables here. First one, let's actually just do standard for the camera type. We'll do a camera target. Alright, and the camera target is just going to be a game object. And we'll go ahead and just do the comments as we go down. This will be the object to look at or follow. Alright, and next option for us here. We want to have the player, so we'll do the variable for the player again, similar to the first one that we did. So in case, again, if we want to have a different setup where we want to have a focus object and not just the player that we're focusing on, but we still need to be able to grab the player to do individual things to the player object itself. So we'll take the player and we'll just do a game object type with it, and we'll just use this as the player object for moving. Alright. And then we need to do a camera height. If you remember from the last one we did it so that we had an inspector variable for camera height that allows us to adjust the camera up and down. So we'll go ahead and put in a variable for camera height. And we'll make it a float. For the camera height, again, this one, we're not actually going to set it to a variable. We'll just call this one up through the initialize it through the start function before things get going. So let's see, this will be the camera height. So we'll say height of camera, and we'll just call it adjustable in the inspector. Alright. And then we'll need a smooth time, similar to before. So we'll have our smooth time, which will be the adjustment speed for when the camera's catching up. And we'll start off with just a 0.2. And it's going to be the time for the camera dampen. Alright, and let's go and put in a couple new ones here. We're going to say we're going to create a border, and we'll just call it border X, or if you want to call it border horizontal, border vertical, you can certainly do that as well. I'm going to create a float on the border, and this one for the moment we'll just say that we're going to go in 2 for the amount for the border. Alright, let's do the same thing for border Y. And we'll just go in the same amount. So do in 2. And it'll be for the height. Alright. So let's set up a few other variables here. We're going to do some private variables. We'll set in our velocity. Like we did before, this will just be a vector 2. Alright. And this will be our speed of the camera. Oops. Camera movement. Do another private variable. Now, we need a couple of just, if we were actually building this up slowly, two of the variable types we get to is actually needing to have a true-false to be able to turn off and on the left and right camera. That way we can turn off if we're going to the right, turn the other one off. If the other one's on, then turn the other one off. So just be able to bounce back and forth between the two. We'll go ahead and do one called move screen right and move screen left. So move screen right, and this will just do a boolean on it, and we'll have it equal to false. Alright, and this one, again, move screen enable, there we go, and private variable move screen left, and again, the type for it, and setting it to false. There we go. Okay, so we have our set of variables. We got a couple of private variables as well. We'll go ahead and use these and tie them into the screen. So while we're looking at this here, just for a moment, to be thinking about it, is that for this one, we'll go ahead and drop this down a little smaller so it'll just show the borders here. What we want to do is basically say that we have the screen width, screen height, and we're trying to find how do we get 10 pixels in, 2 pixels in, 5 pixels in, on this side, this one, and that if we get to that point with the player, then we actually, we could either do a lerp, we could do the smooth dampen like we've done before, have it where it actually gets here, triggers that event, and then the camera actually moves from here to the next location. Alright, so when you're thinking about it, like when I first came up with this one, I've got 10 pages of scribbles on pieces of paper trying to figure all the stuff out. The same kind of ideas that, if you're an artist, if you haven't done this before, first time, don't feel like you've got to come straight to the code and actually start working on it. It may take you a couple of hours to just get your head wrapped around how is the camera going to move, how's the player going to recognize when he gets to the edge of a border on the screen. Those are things that are going to take some time. And again, if you want to try it, go ahead and pause, give it a try, see if you can use what we have right here. An additional thing that you want to have inside of here, you also want to be able to access the player character's character controller script file. But that one element there and these are going to be able to create the camera with the movement to the left and to the right. Alright, so let's go ahead and just jump into this. Again, if you feel like you've got it figured out or you want to give it a try, then I would definitely encourage you just to stop on the video and give it a try yourself. For the start function, if you remember, what we want to do is actually initialize our current camera height. We've set it to 0, but what I want it to do is that when the game initially starts, it gets filled with the current camera's height position. So whatever position it's currently set at, we'll just have it automatically set to that. So we'll just say that the camera height, so camera height is actually just going to equal our current camera transform position. And it'll be on the Y because we're just looking for the up and down on it. Alright, let's go ahead and put in comments for these. And for this one, we'll just do the height of camera starting position. Camera starting position. Alright. And inside our update function, so let's go ahead and start writing this one. We'll go for one screen. We'll move it over to the right first, and then we'll start trying to move it back to the left and figure out how to play around with it there. So getting started with, the first thing that we want to do in the update function is actually get our move direction. That way we know whether the character, like one of the things that we would run into is that the character itself could walk to the side, and if the character turned, and we don't want the camera to go back this way because it's already here. We want to know that the character was walking this direction, is facing this direction. So we'll go ahead and set up a variable real quick, just called move direction, and we'll make this one equal to the player get component. And the player get component option, what we're looking for again, we're looking for the player controls. That'll be that JavaScript file that's on the player character. Okay. And we'll go ahead and just do it on this one here. Get player from player controls.js for JavaScript. Alright. So the next thing that we can do is once we have this, we'll be able to use the components from there whenever we need it. So one of the ones that we'll use from it will be our, if you remember, there was one called move direction. We'll be calling up the move direction one for it. Alright, so let's go ahead and start in on an if statement. We want to do a check here. We're going to say camera, and actually getting our camera target, so our camera target up here. We're going to get the camera target, and what we want from it is the transform x position. So we'll say transform position dot x, and we want to make sure that it is greater than the current camera's transform dot x position. So we'll say camera dot transform dot position dot x. So we're taking whatever this current camera, this script being attached to that camera. So we're saying that if the camera target is going to be, which is this one right here, so that means they could be, the focus point could be up here, it could be the player character, whichever one it might be. All we want from this is the x, so we're going to take the number from the x-axis, and we're going to say that if it's greater than the camera transform position dot x, meaning that the camera position, which is our current camera looking at the scene, if it's greater than that, and here's the catch for it, plus a border x. So again, our border x is 2.0. So if it's greater than this plus the border x, we could actually just do it on this by itself. So for instance, we'll leave off the check for the player direction for just a moment. Alright, so if we have the camera checking and it says yes, your target is actually greater than the camera position and the border x addition to it, then let's go ahead and set our screen move to the right, and we'll make it equal to true. Alright, so if it's equal to true, then we'll set up an if statement, and we'll just call this one screen move right. So we'll say the screen move right is true. Then we want to do just a couple of things to it. There we go. So if the move screen right is true, then let's go ahead and do just our standard math smooth dampen option for it, so that we can move an object from one position to the next position. So we'll just say that we're going to move our camera, and we're going to take the transform position dot x, just like we've been checking for before, and we're going to make the math. We're going to do the smooth damp on it. So remember, we just did this one before. When we were checking on trying to move the camera smoothly, we were using this option to move it smoothly around. And if you don't remember it, or you need to bring up the scripting reference, then just pull the scripting reference back up so you've got it. For this one, though, we actually need to do the object where it's going from and where it's going to. the speed at which it's going, and the time. So let's go ahead and fill these out. Let me actually move this over just so you have a little bit more space. Alright, so for this one, we're going to be moving it from this object's current position, so camera transform position X. So we'll just say camera transform position dot X. So it's going to move smoothly from this current position, and then it's going to actually move over. And again, we'll do the camera transform dot position dot X. Except what we're going to do is actually add to it. So we're going to say that it's going to move over from this position to its current position plus the border X. So say plus border X, and looks like we're going to have to move this all the way over here. Alright, so we'll have the border X added to it. So again, border X was set currently to 2.0. Now, the velocity is going to be the speed, so we'll say velocity, and we're going to just move the speed. Oops. There we go. So we'll say velocity dot y. We're going to move the speed on the y, and then we want to have the smooth time. There we go. Alright, so this will adjust vertical for us. Alright. And for that one, that's actually all we actually need for this initial part at the moment. What we can do is continue adding to the left, to the right, up and down. So we'll do a couple other areas for him to actually adjust into. Okay, so we've got this one. Let's go ahead and test this out. Let's see if the screen will actually start moving to the right. So let's go in here and select the player. Alright, so on the main camera, inside of the camera border follow, we're going to need the camera target and the player. So the player, we'll go ahead and just drag the player onto player. And then the camera target, we have that player focus again, so we'll just take player focus and drop it onto the camera target. Alright, so if we were to push play, notice that when we start to walk, when we get to the edge of the screen, if you notice, the camera just started to move. So let's play that once more. So based on the border X, when we get to the edge of the screen right there, it starts to go that direction. Alright, so that means that it's currently working on the finding the moment the character is greater than its current position plus the border. So what we want to do is actually tell it that if it is if it gets to the point where the camera target is less than the camera transform position, then go ahead and turn off the current screen going to the right. Okay, so inside of here, let's actually do a new statement. And what we want to do is actually just check for what we just said a second ago. We want to go in here and say that if the camera, so say camera target, so if the camera target, which is currently that focus point, the point right above the character, if the camera target's transform position X, so we'll say transform position dot X, if this is less than the camera transform position X, and dot X on this one, and instead of being a plus on the border, we're actually just saying that if it is subtracted from border, so we'll say border X. Alright, so if it happens to be less than the camera transform position dot X minus border, then what we want to do, I'll just move this over here. If we're checking for it and it's actually correct, then we want to make the move screen on the right actually equal to false. That way, what happens is that the moment the camera goes all the way to the side and hits the character right here, it makes it the less than the current border one, then all of a sudden screen turns to false, the moving the screen, which means that up here, this turns to false and it's going to stop the camera. Alright, so we can go ahead and go back to here and play this. Okay, so when I go over to the edge, it's actually going to stop right when it gets to the edge for the character there. So I can go back over again, and it stops going this way. Alright, now if I go this way, notice nothing's going to happen because the only border we currently have checking is over here on this side. Alright? Okay, so with that part of it done, let's go ahead and take a look at how we can continue adding more on the left-hand side of it. And we'll go in here. The actual code itself is basically the exact same code happening right here, except for the direction. Eventually, when we get to a particular direction he's facing, we'll have to make sure he's facing the right direction. So let's go ahead and drop down here, and we'll just go ahead and continue with this one. We'll just say that the camera this time. So again, very similar to the line right above here, the camera target, transform position X. We're just going to look for the camera target, and it's going to be the transform position .x. Alright, so with this one, we just want to say instead of greater than, because we're going to be checking this side, so we're saying less than. So we'll just say that if the camera, if this is less than the camera's current position minus the border, okay? So we'll say camera.transform.position.x, and this will be minus the border x now. Alright, so with this one, this allows us to actually check to see if the character is over on this side of the screen. Okay. And if the character is on that side of the screen, then let's do a couple of things with it. Alright, we want to basically say that if the move screen left is now going to equal true. Alright, so if he's touching the left-hand side, we'll say that the move screen left is true, which means now that if our move screen left is true, then we can do some similar things like we did with the right-hand side. Alright, so if it's true, then let's take our camera transform position, and we want to go ahead and make this one equal to the smooth dampen right here, and go ahead and place in our 4 properties for it. So we'll just say camera transform dot position dot x is going to equal the math f smooth damp, and place in the properties for it. And for this one, let's see, we're going to place in similar to the one we already did before, except for instead of doing a border plus, because we're not going to the right, we want to subtract it so that we're going over to the left. So we'll say camera transform position and dot x. So again, we'll take the first one, then we'll also take our next part, which will be the camera. And the camera for this one is taking the exact same one, so we're finding this position, we're starting it at the exact same position, except when we look for the 2, where it's going to, we're actually just subtracting it when we get to here. So we'll say camera transform position dot x minus border x, and then again the speed will be the velocity, and on the velocity side we'll just do the velocity y. Oops. And then we'll set the time to smooth time. Alright. So this will give us what we need on the transform for the object to be able to move it. Once we get to the left side of the screen, the camera will move over to the left-hand side. Alright. So with that part of it, let's go ahead and drop down one more here. And since we know, just like the other one, we know that if we go to the left and we don't have something to stop it, it'll just continue going to the left. So let's go ahead and place another if statement on this one. And again, we're just telling the camera target that if it's greater than the current camera's position plus the border. Remember, this one we actually did, let's see, 3 down through here. We actually did minus the border right here. We actually want to do on the next one, we want to say plus the border, okay? So for this one, we'll just say if camera target, again, transform, alright. So it's going to be transform position dot x. If this is greater than the current camera transform position dot x plus the border, x, then we basically want to say that if it is, then go ahead and set it back to false. So setting what back to false, we're going to set the one that is move screen left is now equal to false. Alright. Okay. Now, there's something that hopefully you kind of notice that when we're writing this code out, there's something that's going to eventually cause an issue. That I could go in here and go, well, I just copied the code I had up here, and then I paste it down here, and then I start noticing, well, wait a second. If I start checking my if statements here, if camera target through here, like this one, and then I look right below it, notice that the exact same statement is actually turning the move screen left to true, while it turns this one to false. Right? Well, this could actually be an issue here. Let's go ahead and just try playing it, see if you can figure out what's going to happen. Alright. So, when I go over to the side right here, and I get to the edge, look what's happening right here. See how it's bouncing back and forth? It's bouncing back and forth because the moment it gets to the other side, it's actually switching from one saying true to the other one saying false, and turning one on, turning one off. So it's constantly going back and forth. Now, how could we actually fix this so it doesn't keep bouncing us back and forth here? This is part of it where if we jump back up to the top of the code, we have our move direction. What we want to do is basically tell the player that when the player gets to this side of the screen, that as long as the player is facing to the left, that's the only thing it's going to check for, is that if it's facing to the left and it's moving to the left, then it's going to not actually bounce back to the other side. Alright, so let's go ahead and inside of the code right here, for the move direction that we currently have on this, let's add in to a couple of these spots here. Let's add in an additional end statement this can be checking for, and we're just going to go ahead and say that and move direction is actually going to grab our move direction, which will equal 1. Since we're actually on this one, we're moving to the right, then as long as the current move direction is also looking to the right, then we'll be able to turn move screen right to true. Alright, so with this, let's go ahead and tab over. So if player is at the right edge, okay, and I'm actually just going to copy this here. Okay, so we have that one where the player actually moves to the right on this one. Another spot where we actually need to change it up is going to be when it turns it to false. So for instance, if the camera is moving to the right, and then all of a sudden the camera gets to the point where the target is actually less than the current position of the camera mouse border, this is where it's bouncing back and forth right here. Same statement happening. So we need to find a way to actually vary it. Well, we're just going to add this in. We'll say that if this is actually happening, if the character is actually facing to the right, so again, if the move direction is looking at the right as well, then we'll turn this one off. Alright? And then at the same time, let's go ahead and add a comment here. So for this one, we're just simply saying that if the player is not at border, alright, then we could turn the move screen off. And then down below, though, in order to make sure that if he's on the left-hand side, then we can actually set this to check, so that if the player is at the border on the left-hand side and the move direction is equal to 0, meaning that the player is facing to the left. Okay, so we'll say that if player is at the left edge, then we'll make the screen move to the left, and then just like we had before, if the screen's moving to the left is true, then the character will start, the camera will start to move that direction. In order to turn it off, though, we do need to make sure that we actually say that we're checking for the move direction equal to 0. And we'll just put this in here. If player is on the edge. Alright, so if he is and he's facing to the left, then the move screen left turns false. Alright, so if we save this out, let's double check it in code here and make sure it works in the game. So what this should do is just, again, it'll just tell us that when we get to the edge, the camera moves, it hits him, and it's not checking for left or it's not saying it doesn't know left or right. It says, okay, he's looking to the right, so that means that when you get there, go ahead and stop. Now, if I was looking to the left, notice that when I turned, he automatically went this way because I was at the border of the screen. So again, I can move this way when I get to the edge, then it winds up moving over this way. If I turn around, we go this way. Now, you can definitely break this one just in terms of the cameras that I move and I quickly turn, this way. See how the camera is shaking right there? This is because I have too much space on the border. What I really want to do is make sure that when the camera, here, let's make this one work here. There we go. When the camera actually is, when your player is going to the edge of the screen, don't place so much space between it, but actually have it so that the player has to walk pretty close to the edge of the screen itself. It'll help prevent the character from actually having that little camera that issue with it. And there's definitely different things we can do to make sure we keep from having those type of issues. But as a basic prototype for the camera moving back and forth, this is definitely set in place for that. Looking at the other part though, what we don't have right now is the camera height on the y-axis actually being adjusted properly for it. So let's go ahead and take our camera height. So let's see, right outside of our update here. Alright, so outside the update, let's go ahead and do one last thing. We're going to make our current camera, so we'll say camera transform position, but this time it's not going to be X, it's going to be Y for the up and down. We'll make this one equal to the camera height, so we'll say camera height right there, and this will be what we use for adjusting the height in the inspector. So this will set the current camera Y to the camera height in the inspector. I'm actually going to say through the inspector. Okay. So this time around, if I was to actually play it again, when I play, the camera itself will jump up to the focus point. Actually, it should jump up to the focus point. Let's make sure we got it set right. Oh, actually, that's, the camera target is actually set on that one, so it'll set it up that way for it. And then you can actually just move it back and forth and have kind of an old school system. And if we decide to run, it stays up with us. There we go. Alright, so that gives us the basic setup here then for doing a border for the camera. The last thing you can do is just go through, make sure you comment along each part, make sure everything's commented out pretty well, and explain through it. Alright, so that'll finish off our camera border, the follow side.